Dobré odpoledne, vítám vás na tiskové konferenci k filmu Heil, který uvádíme v hlavní soutěži. Máme tady 4 členy delegace, já to teda vezmu směrem od zdi. Benno Fürman, což je herec, který stvárnil postavu Svena. Hned vedle něj je režisér filmu Dietrich Briggemann, který už byl v Karlových Varech loni se svým filmem Křížová cesta. Vedle Dietricha sedí Jerry Hoffman, který stvárnil roli aktivisty, který po úderu do hlavy začne uvažovat trošku neobvyklým směrem. A vedle mě, po mé levici, sedí Katrin Géter, producentka filmu. Mé jméno je Martin Horina, budu vás provázet tiskovou konferencí. Poprosím všechny dotazy na mikrofon a máme na tu tiskovou konferenci 25 minut. Doufám, že film vás nenechal chladným a dotazů bude hodně. Prosím.
Hi, can I talk in English? No, it's okay.
Yeah, you can.
Hi, Eva from Festival Daily. I just want to know, because it's international premiere, so it was seen in Germany. So what was the reactions there? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we had the German premiere at Filmfest Munich just a week ago, and yeah, people really liked it a lot. I think that's safe to say. We had huge applause and everything, but I mean, I've been to screenings where there was huge applause of other films, and then still you get bad reviews and people walk out and say, "Yeah, I clapped my hand, but I thought it was shit." So we had huge applause, but maybe, I don't know, what I heard of, people like it. To cut the long story short, yeah.
I heard the same.
Yeah, me too.
I read it even in the papers.
Dobrý den, Spáčelová dnes. Já bych chtěla poděkovat za velmi zajímavý úvod do soutěže. Film jsme viděli hned ráno a moje otázka směřuje k té stylizaci, zřejmě na pana režiséra. Samozřejmě ten film se dá natočit jako naprosto smrtelně vážné společenské nebo společensko-politické drama. Proč vy jste zvolil právě tu stylizaci směrem ke groteskce, k té nadsázce? Jestli to bylo jenom z důvodu vstřícnosti vůči publiku, anebo je to vlastně vaše osobní založení? Děkuji.
Well, it depends on what you mean by style. So the whole tone of the film, or the basic setup of the film, is of course that of a satire, of a comedy, which is kind of the DNA of the film, and it influences every other choice you make. So the whole setup of this story is kind of an bland slapstick comedy setup. Someone gets hit on the head and loses his memory, and then he gets hit on the head a second time and regains his memory, and so on. I mean, that's kind of Three Stooges or Marx Brothers material. So this is the basic first choice in making the film was to make the comedy, because I see so many absurd and grotesque things out there. So if realism turns things into a comedy, so why not just make a comic film? And talking about, I don't know if maybe you mean think of style as more like the choices you make later in production, like camera and sound and the whole look and feel. And we didn't actually try to push those usual comedy buttons in the whole lighting and color, and especially the music. If there's one thing I really hate in comedies, that's the usual comedy music that's always kind of cheerful and jazzy and tells you everything is funny. Come on, everything is just lights and relaxed. So we deliberately didn't make those usual comedy choices in styling the film. Like camera work is just matter of fact, more or less realist, or just jumps from to different styles, and music is very serious. As I said before, the usual comedy, you often find music in comedies that kind of comments on what you see. Like something more or less neutral is happening, but there's a funny, cheerful tune playing, and it's a bit jazzy, and just wants to get me in as an audience, get me into a mood of watching a comedy, which I actually hate because I don't want to be told what to react like. I mean, music is I think generally comedy is best delivered like deadpan with no expression on your face, just like dead serious. Don't think of being funny yourself, just delivering the goods. So what the music does in a film is just always agree on whatever the characters think is right at the moment. So we have all these big military fanfares when we go to war. The music just underlines that, and that's what I'd say serious.
Please, could you please repeat the question in English? Could you please repeat the question in English?
What do you like about the festival like KVIFF, because it has been presented also at the Munich Film Festival, and so how was it here, and what do you like?
I don't know what to like so far because I got here like an hour and a half ago. I had a talk show yesterday, Munich was before. So it depends on you guys whether I will like it or not. I hope you'll treat me well, and then I will travel home with good memories, and that will be a beautiful thing. Other than that, of course, KVIFF is one of the most important festivals in Europe, and I'm pleased to be here. I'm very pleased with our work, and I'm very curious to see how this film is going to work with an international audience, because so far only was part of a screening with a national audience, and we're telling a very German story, if you will, because we have this history, and yes, time moved on, but yes, you know, the cloud of the times then were, you know, very big clouds, so to speak, they are still graspable, and you have to react to them, whether this is like by ignorance, or whether, you know, it's guys like I portray who are still longing for, you know, some greatness and to leave some kind of mark in the world, and dream of the days that probably never were, to people reacting very strongly to the subject by demanding very PC behavior and quotations and rhetorical, you know what I mean.
Ganz kurz nur, könnten Sie noch ganz kurz sagen auf Deutsch, was macht das Festival im Gegensatz zu anderen so besonders?
Jetzt muss ich das nochmal auf Deutsch sagen.
Nicht dasselbe, vielleicht was anderes.
Das weiß ich halt noch gar nicht, weil ich gerade hierher gekommen bin und gespannt bin, wie es sein wird. Ich weiß, dass es ein Festival ist, was lange auf meiner Liste war, als eins der Festivals, auf denen ich noch nie war. Deshalb freue ich mich persönlich sehr, hier zu sein. Und ich freue mich natürlich...
Benno, could you please talk in English, because we are not interpreting.
You guys have to do it between you, because I try to speak in English, and then she tells me to speak in German, for you to tell me to
I'm
speak
sorry,
English.
now it's up to me, so please
I'm
talk
fed
in
up
English.
already now.
Yeah, but we need to. This lady is Austrian. She's not German, please.
Hello, I'm Angelika Prafter from the Austrian Press Agency. I'm going to talk in English. I have two questions. First of all, to Dietrich Brüggemann, a big part of your movie is the so-called V-Leute. I don't know what's it in English. Like people being put into the neo-Nazi scene to spy and then actually becoming a strong part of the neo-Nazi scene, which is obviously very current right now. I wanted to ask you if the NSU process happening right now in Germany has influenced you at all, or given you, you know, the idea and inspiration to make this movie?
Well, yes, obviously. Maybe that's not kind of common knowledge in the international crowd, but we had this strange series of events in Germany when, over from starting in like 2000, over the years, recurring crimes happened, like migrant, Turkish, whatever small business owners were assassinated, banks were robbed, and a bomb was blown up in a largely Turkish populated area in Cologne. And police never had a clue. They always thought, like, yeah, there must be some gang wars going on underground. And only in late 2011, the whole thing surfaced. There was 3 neo-Nazis from east part of Germany who had gone underground in the late 90s, 2 boys, 1 girl, and they formed this strange liaison à trois and randomly assassinated people and robbed banks and just lived happily underground for 12 years. And this whole thing blew apart in 2011 when two of them were killed, and the girl survived, and she's in court now in Munich. And there was this huge public scandal and discussion because everyone was going, what went wrong? Why didn't the German state get behind these people? And this whole thing certainly triggered me trying to make this film, because all these things that happened that we address in the film were so absurd that the German Verfassungsschutz, which is the inland secret service, kind of the equivalent to the FBI that we know from American films. So the inland secret service, it's split, it's divided into like 16 federal state agencies. They're being active over there now. They sabotaged the media. So which is kind of strange, but it's on the other hand, there is a meaning, because after World War II, when kind of federal Germany was constructed as a state, people didn't want like a central secret police like the Gestapo, for obvious reasons. So this was kind of split up to the different federal states. And so these 16 federal agencies didn't really talk to each other, which happened to absurd things that these neo-Nazis were observed by one agency, and then they crossed the border from like Thuringia to Hesse, and then the other agency just lost track and wasn't interested. And so all these things seemed so absurd and grotesque to me that was definitely triggered the idea to make that film.
My second question to Benno Furman, because you mentioned before it's different now because it's the international premiere, and obviously Germany has that history, but Germany is certainly not the only country having issues with neo-Nazis. Do you think that this film is going to work in neighbor countries like this one?
I cannot foresee whether or whether not. What you said, of course, is right, that we have unfortunately a kind of heightened following of neo-Nazis at the moment all over Europe in the parliaments, and you know, it's frightening. At the German World Cup, there were certain no-go areas for people of darker skin. I have a child with a Nigerian German woman, and I'm very, very, very concerned and upset by that. Of course, we're not alone with this kind of problem of people trying to give simple answers to a more and more complex world. And the simple answers, people who are looking for some of a graspable dimension of, a complex life, you know, they often works in times of social problems, and the world doesn't get more fair. The world, you know, the poor don't get richer, but the social span between the super rich and the poor is drastically increasing. So yes, I think a lot of us internationally can and should relate to this kind of problem, and you know, the goal for me and the fun of it was to kind of hold an ugly mirror into our faces and the way we deal with it as society, as Germans, but of course as societies who deal with the same kind of problem. There's never a simple answer.
No, tady dopředu poprosím mikrofon, ano.
Děkuji. Aleš Hudský, strategie. I have a question for the financing of the film or producing. I have seen in the credits like 9 producers. This topic is slightly provocative, we may say. Wasn't it difficult to raise the money? How did you get Arte into it? And can you just say how the financing of such film in Germany worked?
It's maybe a question for producer. Yeah.
Honestly, we were all surprised that this really grotesque and absurd and really noisy film was going to be made, and that it was getting financed. And we had many partners on board, and which doesn't mean that it was more complicated. I think it was a surprisingly smooth process to finance it, but we just have a structure in Germany which has some more public television stations in it. So Arte is works in a collaboration with RBB, the other first public television stations. So it's a collaboration with Arte. We have 3 companies involved, which has something to do with the funding system in Germany. So we have funders, and we have a world distributor already for the film, and of course we have a distributor in Germany. So, but this is how it all got together. So for me, this 9 partners didn't feel like that was extraordinary many or something.
It didn't go too well because now your car is being towed right outside.
It was hours. Oh my god.
See, this is all our producers could buy from what they made on the film, is this old Polo. Well, you know,
now it's gone.
Well, I think I might add something. When I started writing this project in 2012, I was like entirely convinced that no one was ever going to finance this. It was just totally sure, because German film, I think we Germans, we always tend to think not very highly of our own cinema, which is probably right, I don't know. And we all have this kind of censor in our head. We always blame institutions like TV and funding bodies and committees, like 12 people, and the church has its representative on the committee, and it's all very, very clumsy, and it all tends to go toward the middle ground and middle bro, and yeah, well, that's how you build. You can build a good society on consensus, but maybe not art. But that's a very wide field. Anyway, starting to write, I was absolutely convinced. This little censor in my head, this German film guy on his desk, told me, no, this is not a German film. This is not going to be made. And I was like, yeah, well, I'm writing it anyway, just for my own personal pleasure. And only when Stations of the Cross won this award in Berlin, I realized that. I said this in an interview with Screen already, but I think it's true to say it a second time. This award like this gives it's like in a computer game, your avatar gets a new big weapon. So it just raises you to a level where I realized, all right, let's do it now, let's do it fast. And yeah, then it happened.
Tady ve třetí řadě otázka.
Thank you. Hello, Mariela Victor. Camera Film TV from Poland. I'm from invited country from your film. You partly answered my question, but I'm curious because this is some kind of joke from neo-Nazis. But I'm interested about the scale of the problem. Should we feel fair, or this is growing up? This tendencies in German society right now? How it look like?
I don't feel like the most competent person to answer this, actually. I think it's always a matter of perspective. You always observe certain developments around you, and you tend to prolong these developments into the future, and that makes you think, oh my God, what's going to end in 10 years? And which is always true, because everything is always getting worse and worse and worse. But if you read, like, news from the 70s, then the world's... Back then, the world was getting worse and worse and worse, and so right. If you would have lived in the 70s and prolonged these observations, now these days we would live in like in Mad Max post-apocalypse world, which is clearly not the case. Still, everything is far from fine. So I'm not really sure. I don't really know the statistics, and even statistics are not kind of that unambiguous. Maybe there is a growing problem, maybe there's just a recurring problem, maybe there's a constant problem. Still, it remains a problem. I'm sure there's not going to be like a huge majority for Nazi parties in Germany in the future. That's something I don't see happening at the moment. Hopefully. I don't know if that was kind of half clear.
I mean, yeah, it's hard to look in the future, but what we can say is that it's still very present and it's there. this is what I really feel, and what I think the movie also shows, that it's still a topic we should somehow talk about and produce, and somehow don't overlap with other things. Sometimes there's a tendency to say that it's just some bunch of guys, and sometimes it's the tendency to say, oh my God, like we have the next era where Second World War started will be in Germany. Like both sides are very present, and I think what it means is like we still have it in our hearts and in our heads, and we still have to discuss it and think it through.
I mean, there's a funny bit of news I just read yesterday. There was this, on the 1st of May, the unions and the left party, they always make these kind of celebrations in towns, and in some Eastern German town there was this 1st of May celebration, and then all of a sudden 50 neo-Nazis marched in there and took hold of the microphone and shouted their slogans, horrifying and appalling. And that really makes you think, oh my God! Now they're really starting to kind of make big public appearances. They didn't do this kind of years ago. But then you read the rest of the news. Those 50 Nazis, they weren't local. They came from all over Germany. So that kind of reassures you. All right, if they need to pull these 50 people together from all over Germany, maybe it's really just only a few. And then they all parked their cars in one big enclosed parking lot, and that's where the police just got them by not letting them out. So I think that's a good punchline.
And also the conflict, I think, is evolving and developing. I mean, we have, like, in Second World War, like, a lot of people in Germany died just by their origins, just by their ethnicities. We don't have a lot of killings nowadays in Germany, so what we still have, what I think we still have, is that part of society doesn't get accepted from the huge majority of the society, what I felt.
Poslední otázka, jo, tohle to bude.
I have one more for the Briggerman. Was the decision to offer this film to Karlovy Vary main competition influenced by your visit last year here?
Oh yes, absolutely. I was here last year for the first time. I was kind of disabled because of the day before I had fallen off just one step in Paris and hurt my torn a ligament or something. So I was kind of, yeah, that's really lame. I was lame here. Yeah, still, I absolutely love the festival. I had heard about it before, but I just hadn't been there. So all this very youthful audience and this kind of enthusiasm, and what I generally like in Eastern Europe, I know it's a bit of a cliche, but it's also true, is people have this sense of humor that is really amazing. And then I just randomly walked into a screening, which was this Lifetime Achievement Award ceremony for a guy called Zdeněk Svěřák, that everyone knows in here. And then they screened an old film of his, which was called, forgive me, I can't pronounce it, I think it was called Vršný pršný or something. And I totally loved that film. It's really one of the best comedies I've ever seen. It blew me away. I want to own that on Blu-ray and show it to all my friends. It was really amazing, and that also, I mean, it has this famous closing scene, which this people racing through the streets of Karlovy Vary and next to the fountain and stuff, and that really made me love this place even more. So I'm very, very honored to be here, and I think it's absolutely the right place to give this film an international premiere.
Tak já vám děkuji za vaše dotazy. Bohužel čas určení této tiskové konference vypršel a přeju také delegaci vše nejlepší na premiéru filmu, která proběhne dnes odpoledne v podvečer.
Thank you.